Welcome to Attune to Your Alchemy, a podcast for women who want to step into their divine feminine, embody their sacred pleasure, and be in community with other women who are living their soul's purpose. I'm your host, Ellie McMillan, a priestess with the 13 Moon Mystery School and founder of the online community, the Matriarch Collective. I have the privilege of working with women who want to reconnect to their souls and remember what it's like to be in their sacredness. Together, we are going to explore the wilds of intimacy, pleasure, feminine energetics, and the alchemy of our everyday lives. This is a sacred place for you to reclaim your magic and embrace the power of the divine. Come with me. Welcome, beloveds, to the Attune to Your Alchemy podcast. In our inaugural episode, I want to really talk about what alchemy is. This is often a word that is used when there's this essence of je ne sais quoi. What can we put our finger on about it? And so come with me on this journey as we discover what alchemy is, and I unfold to you very much like a novel, like those choose your own adventure novels, of what we can expect from this podcast and what we're going to be doing here together. So thank you for tuning in. Let's begin. What is alchemy? What is this bit? The definition of alchemy is the medieval forerunner of chemistry based on the supposed transformation of matter. It was concerned particularly with attempts to convert base materials into gold or to find a universal elixir. The other thing we have here is it's synonymous with things like occult sciences, such as alchemy and astrology. Debatable with occult because things have become so commonplace, so mainstream. Thanks to Chani, thanks to fellow Canadian Chani Nichols. There's similar words to alchemy, things like chemistry, magic. Oh my gosh, I love the word sorcery. Say that to yourself out loud. It's so good. Sorcery. Witchcraft and enchantment. I just picture a flowy dress and a forest opening up with a moss floor in front of you. And there's forest dwellers and mushrooms. And this is what my fantasies are made out of. And so alchemy is really this turning something or nothing into something. And it's this really what we do, I believe, every day in our lives, sometimes without even realizing it. I want to read from a book that I've been reading called On Becoming an Alchemist by Catherine McComb. And in this book, she's talking about how do we put our finger on this word alchemy? How do we understand how this practice comes into play in our everyday life? It reads, the myth of pure perception. If everyone has a subtle body, why isn't subtle body perceiving as universal as seeing, hearing, and smelling? Our eyesight goes on to work whether we believe in it or not. Yet those who question the existence of the third eye tend not to have the sort of perceptions that are attributed to it. They would argue that if the perception depends on belief, it's not really perception at all. What we truly perceive is objectively there, regardless of how we feel about it. So it's this how do we pull the esoteric down into the commonplace? How do we go from something that we can't see and can barely explain and yet embody fully? This is really what the magic of alchemy is. If we look back at a historical context of where alchemy came from, who first talked about alchemy. We see this from Hermes Trismegistus, who wrote Hermetica and developed this philosophical system that we know as Hermeticism. I also, in doing this episode, did a bit of research about this. The book also talks a lot about Mr. Hermes. And the curious thing is this whole concept of hermetically sealed. Anyways, I'll drop a little Easter egg there. You can look that up, see what it means. The combination of the knowledge of both material and spiritual worlds is what he really concentrated on. He wanted to bring the supernatural into the natural. And most often, this was done by trying to turn some sort of base metal or coal, some sort of steel or aluminum into something precious, such as gold. In modern day alchemy, we really see this in the heroine's journey. We see this in modern day movies and books and lots of different places. But I want to specifically talk about Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist. And for any of you that have read this book, you know that it's such a journey. It's sort of like the most normal, let's call it even basic book. It's a story that you sort of are calm reading. Like there's a sense of like, oh, in some ways, I've been here. I can relate to the main character. This story originates with a shepherd who is herding his flock through really this barren lands. And the story unfolds into this concept of going from nothing to something. He spends his money to buy this flock so that he can then make money. And through his journeys, he sort of lets the universe guide him, or a greater force guide him to the next portion of his life. The next portion of his life, very much like this choose your own adventure novel, gives you a lesson or some tidbit that you need to be able to accomplish the next thing or to experience the next thing. We see this in J.K. Rowling's beloved series, Harry Potter. And the first place that we really see this, I mean, we see this, as soon as Harry is gifted the letter calling him to the school. But after that, he has to actually believe in something that he can't see, which is platform 9 3/4. The train station has two platforms, 9 or 10. But the platform that they are instructed to go on is 9 3/4. And this is the whole aspect that Catherine McCown is talking about, is that those who don't believe in the third eye can't see from it. Those who do believe in the third eye can see from it. And therefore, we have Harry and his friends. I can't not pronounce his name like that. I apologize in advance. Looking for this 9 3/4 platform. And as they leap through into another world, it takes them to the destination they're trying to go to. We can also see this I can go on and on about Harry and his adventures. Maybe this is another podcast that is a spin-off and just like literally we talk about the magic of that series. But for now, let's talk about this alchemy in tarot decks. This is the concept of that cards, reading cards. Even, tarot goes back to people reading playing cards. Someone told me the other day that their grandmother used to read playing cards, and I love this. We're looking for a deeper meaning, a bigger meaning than what we can identify that's literally sitting right in front of our face. And so we consult things like tarot and oracle decks to be able to see the archetype and the alchemy of what is happening around us in order to point us or to orient us in a new direction. We see this in music. Hello, my beloved Taylor Swift. If you were also a Swiftie or a Taylor Swift fan even, let me know on social media. Send me a message. We need to unite. And what do we think of her new album? Okay, this note about the new album. She needed to use alchemy in her recordings in order to make it her own. I'm referencing Taylor's version here. We can also see this in surrealism artwork, like just phenomenal and strangely like conceptual art that somehow we understand and yet are still left questioning. And if you've ever played the game Zelda, shout out to anyone else who spent their childhood either watching their sibling play Zelda, which was me, or playing it themselves. You know the quest of trying to find the treasure. And each quest gave you what you needed in order to move forward to the next adventure. And then we also see this in movies that we watch. Fight Club. I remember watching that movie, Come With Me, and thinking of the profoundness of having this secretive club where we can express ourselves in a completely different way. Think about this on so many levels. This is not just a cult classic. This is so much more. And then I watched the most amazing movie not too long ago with Hilary Swank called Ordinary Angels. Let me know if you've watched this. It's so good. There is so much that I'm rooting for with the characters in that movie while it unfolds that literally as the story moves on, as the story unfolds, we start to see more and more of what the audience, needs to see so that the magic at the end of the movie can happen. I don't want to give it all away, but it's amazing. That also leads me in this concept of this conversation around alchemy that it's not always this like dog and pony show. It's not always rainbows and unicorns. Alchemy is often gritty. It's often filled with initiations. And these are times in our life where we come through struggle or illness or heartbreak or other challenges that prepare us for something more. As a side note, I'm currently in the creator, destroyer, preserver archetype in my 13 Moon Mystery School, and I am telling you, Kali Ma, when she comes to visit you, you have to be ready for that destruction in order for creation and preservation to happen. And this is what initiation is. The amount of initiations that we go through in our lifetime are just incredible when we see them as initiations and we move out of victimhood of why is this happening to me? You know, clients sometimes come to me and as soon as they say, you know, why, I don't know why this is happening to me. The first thing I say is, let's reframe this. This is an initiation. What is this here to teach you? So these hardships become opportunities for growth, which is amazing. What a magical way to unfold our lives. And then, you know, these initiations as they move forward, a few weeks ago, I got incredibly sick and I had this moment of blame. I panicked because I know with some cofactors that I have that respiratory illness can be really bad for me. And so I played out the victimhood in my eyes. I was like, who will take care of me? I went through the whole gamut of things. And the night that I checked myself into the hospital, I walked through the doors after the triage. And the first thing I said to myself was, I had this intuitive hit. I knew exactly what it was. I knew exactly what the doctor was going to tell me. And that I knew that I needed to go through this because the goddess, the universe, this higher power needed me to become more laser focused on healings. And what better way to practice our own healing power than on ourselves? And so as I waited there for the 7+ hours, bless our allopathic medical system, for 7+ hours, I saw many other people come in through the emergency room doors. And when I left there, I knew in my heart of hearts that I had the tools to be able to heal myself as I walked out that door. But I needed to go through the initiation to understand that I did. Okay, alchemy in our lives. This is exactly what I'm talking about here. We are often recognized as healers, as priestesses, as intuitives, or even Reiki practitioners. These are all individuals who use this alchemy, not necessarily being able to see it with our own physical eyes, but knowing on a deeper level. This is what these individuals tap into. But really, we are all alchemists in our own lives through experiencing things like quantum leaps. It doesn't need to be that we've healed ourselves from said illness. It's the way that we move through physical and personal developments. And if you've never had a quantum leap before in your life, it's coming. It's coming your way. But it is this concept of moving from, I don't know how I'm going to get from where I am right now to where I want to be. And when we let go of the how is this going to happen, we start to open ourselves up to guidance beyond our knowledge, beyond what we can fit into our heads, and open up to this guidance that we need to make this major jump in our lives. And I really want to point out the sensitivity of alchemy here. This isn't about making big changes to our personality through things like therapy and personal development, but instead it's about becoming sensitive to the ways that we're living our lives that are more in tune with our intuition and our soul's work. So how do we do this? How do we attune to our own alchemy? Really, my goal in this podcast is to bring you weekly episodes that inspire you with conversations that I'm having with people who are literally living in their alchemy. They are in their magic. And that's not necessarily that they are doing work like a healer and they're therefore healing people. I have a really great interview coming up with a mom that just uses her intuition so fine-tunedly, if that is a word, to raise her children, to parent, and it is an incredible experience. So I'm excited for you to hear that interview. The focus of the podcast is going to be on living in alignment with divine energy. Oh, divine feminine energy for my sisters out there. Sacred pleasure. We're going to talk a lot about sex. And stories of alchemical journeys from women that are doing the things that can light the way for us as we go forward. Like I said, these are ordinary people that are in tune with how and what they use to alchemize in their everyday life. And this is really to inspire you to create quantum leaps in your life that bring you closer to working with your soul's work in the world. How does that sound? Come with me. Okay, let's leave our first episode there. Next week, I'm going to talk to you about who I am as an alchemist, as a priestess, as a healer, what it is that I do. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Come find me over on Instagram at I am Ellie Christine. And if you enjoyed this, it means the absolute world to me for this to get in front of as many people as possible. I want to be in so many ears and have so many women living their soul's work through their energy, through their pleasure, through their masterful tools that they have, whether or not they know them yet. And you can help me with that by rating, and leaving a review on the podcast. So I will see you in a few days for the next episode. And beyond that, you can expect an episode that comes out every Monday morning, bright and early. Pop me in your ears as you're on your way to your work, as you're walking the dog, as you're getting your coffee, and we're going to do this together. Okay, beloveds, thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can find me online at Instagram mostly. I am Ellie Christine. Or you can find me over at my free Facebook community. It's called The Matriarch Collective. You can search that and I'll show up. And I just want to let you know I have a couple of openings right now for oracle readings. So if you want to schedule in an oracle reading, I'll put the link for you to schedule that below. I'll see you guys next time.